Hey guys, welcome to another video. I have to say that this is not the first replay I am actually watching and recording. So this is a replay from 2 days ago, playing against French. And the only thing I want to look at is the initial build, the initial setup, the Horseman rush, and how to counter the knights, the incoming knights of the French, and how to keep the pace in the feudal age with Mongols. So we're not going to watch the entire game, and I can also tell you why. I've actually recorded for half an hour just to realize that my microphone has not been working. For some reason I restarted my PC today, or I started my PC today, and the microphone didn't seem to be connected. So I don't want to go talking half an hour again. And it is funny, you remember a few days ago I said that for some reason I don't like to look at my defeats because I feel like, I don't know, I feel weird about looking at defeats, or maybe I find it hard to talk about them on camera, although it happened super naturally. And it's like a sign from the universe not to show not not to show how I lose. But actually it was a very interesting game against Ottomans, and I was looking at some tactics and strategies on how to counter the Ottoman ball of mangonels, janissaries, archers, and spearmen when they are coming towards your base. So that one was interesting. If you want me to look at it and to talk about it again, I can record it again. If that's something that you want to look at. It was also on marshlands. Yes, it was on marshlands, and I was also talking about stealth forests and how stealth forests negatively affect the cavalry movement through them. So that's also something to keep in mind. It's very important. I think the most important aspect of marshlands is to keep in mind that the stealth forests will hinder your cavalry movement and you're more vulnerable to attacks. So we're going for a basic horseman rush. We have scouted out the tower at the gold. We've also scouted that the tower is more to the left than to the right, giving us an opportunity to attack from the right side. That's why I decided to go for the horsemen, but not to insist too much on them. By building a tower, the opponent has slowed himself a little bit, giving us a bit more time to set up our own tower on the gold. So this is what we want to follow up with. We want to follow up with a tower our own, because the knights will definitely come towards the gold to kill a villager at least, and they can do it. So if you're too comfortable on your gold, then that's a problem because you will get attacked. That's the typical strategy for coming from a French. So the first thing you need to keep in mind if you're playing with cavalry is to to be mindful of your gold. For some reason, I've put 3 villagers on gold. We are not doing a lot of damage here, so we're just harassing the villagers repeatedly. They're gonna be under the tower, but at the same time, if we stick around here, we will force him to garrison the villagers a few times. And this is the advantage of going for horsemen, is because you can quickly just harass the villagers. You will force them for to make longer drop-offs, which is also pretty cool. And as you can see, the opponent has 5 villagers on the gold, so enough to garrison in the tower. All right, let's look at the next step. The next step I do is I build the deer stones with 6 villagers. For now, I'm going to rally a 7th villager on the deer stone. And you should be aging up with 6 to 7 villagers if you go for the horseman rush. That's very important. Okay, and we can also look at hypothetical scenarios, because now now our opponent will make a knight. So that's for certain. That's for certain. You're not going to prevent that, but it's gonna take a little bit of time until the night is out. So you still have a few moments to do something something productive here. We're aging up with 7 now. We're also creating a new horseman. We should have created this horseman earlier if it would have been possible. And you might already know the answer to the question why I'm doing it. And I'm going to repeat. 3 horsemen, 3 feudal horsemen, so 3 upgraded horsemen will be able to deal with a knight properly if you start early. So let me pause the game for a second. So now you're at his base. You have 2 horsemen. Maybe they are a bit weakened from the damage they took from the tower or from the town center of your opponent. But the horsemen are faster than the knight. Shooting 2-3 arrows with a Khan, hitting and running with a horseman is also a possibility here. Split them up, put the Khan on control group 3, put these guys on control group 2, this one on control group 4, and rally them onto the knight. Because once the knight is here, it's GG. He can't do anything. They're probably gonna make another knight, that's for sure. Maybe I shouldn't have used the arrow. You can actually use the Khan to mitigate the charge of the knight. So here, if we want to take the upper hand in these kinds of interactions, we wanna mitigate the damage from the charge of the knight. So yeah, he's not trying anything. Yeah, he's trying to kill the wounded horseman, but I'm just going to retreat him, and that's kind of it. So I think he just decided he doesn't want to come to my base anymore, and that's fine. So we just prevented a French attack with the horseman rush, and it was very, very easy. And it would have been easy as well, or not as easy if he hadn't built that tower. But if he had not built that tower, my horseman would have destroyed the mining camp. So the situation is in your favor if you do the right thing. If you don't take your eyes off that knight, that's super important. Also, in this situation, I should have kept my Khan there to shoot at the villager. Always keep your Khan with a horseman if you're attacking or diving, because the Khan can deal maybe 6 to 9 damage to the villager, killing him after you weaken him. Okay, and now since we are in his base with 2 horsemen, we force his knights to follow us, giving us space to go for Keshik. We can even go for more Keshik, and this is how I'm going to play it. Let's check the upgrades. We are at the 7th minute mark. We haven't gone for any upgrades here, but we definitely went for the wheelbarrow because we need the wheelbarrow to move fast with our villagers, to escape from the knight's charge. So wheelbarrow is, I think, the first upgrade you should get against French. Another upgrade that would be amazing is textiles. But in my opinion, only get textiles if you have killed 1 or 2 villagers of your opponent, because otherwise you're gonna fall behind a little bit. So with textiles, it is a very good research, but you should time it correctly. At the same time, we're just riding around with our army. We have 3 horsemen, we have 4 Keshik, Mangudai, Khan's Hunter, and the Mangudai and the Khan's Hunter are just there for now. So they don't contribute to any kind of damage. And if they do, that kind of damage is minimal and insignificant actually. Okay, let's check a few more interactions. I'm not going to cover the entire game. You can also do this. So it's possible to dive with Mongols. The wood lines are the most fragile. So keep in mind that the wood lines of your opponents are the most fragile, and this guy should have built a wall around here. Okay, we're looking for some kills. And since we keep our opponent in his base, we can focus on ourselves here. Another mistake that I'm making is my rally point is not really on point, to be honest. Since I'm building a tower here, I could have moved the deer stones here to give these units a little bit more speed. And in my opinion, this is one of the best things you can do against French, because if you have the deer stones here in this area, then the knights, even if they are charging, they won't be able to reach your units. Also, don't forget to keep your units split, goddamn, like this, yeah? Because you want to have your Mangudai on control 3 group and your other units on control 2 group. Okay, like I said, our rally point is not really the best. So we should have rallied somewhere around here. We should have kept the deer stones maybe around here. And also make a Khan's Hunter if you rally a new set of units, just so you have a little bit of extra range. If you know that your opponent's mass is somewhere else, you can start torching down buildings, provided you have maybe 10 melee cavalry units. Those should be enough to deal with the tower. So always try to hit from 2 different angles, maybe from the front and from the back, and try to bury that. In this particular matchup, I am not going for a market. I'm trying to leverage my advantage from villager kills and from harassment, because the market is not in a very good spot. Although I have had such matchups before on Lipany with a market here, and if you manage to dominate this part of the map where I'm looking, so if you dominate until this point, this line, then this area is safe for you as well, provided you can reach with cavalry units. And a market here in this corner would have been very sneaky, because it would have reached through half of your base, just going behind your base, so this entire area would have been safe. Let's come back to this topic soon. We're making some mistakes here because we're getting our villagers killed. This is really bad. This is why I'm saying, okay, keep your newly rallied units somewhere close. And at the same time, we're trying to get in ourselves, but his knight mass is starting to look pretty scary here. Although what I have noticed is that my opponent is microwing, is not so good at microwing this. He seems to be quite afraid to lose his knights, and now we are taking revenge here. And we have a problem. We have a problem because we have been ganked, we have been sandwiched, but we also got a few villager kills, and we caused some chaos. Okay, let's get back to the market thing, and we're going to cut this one short. Okay, I could have built a market here. This area would not have been safe, but this area here, since we are just riding around here, we could have went in a line. I like to imagine lines, but I don't have lines to draw on this map, and that would have been super awesome to have a tool to draw with a marker. So we have this area protected, the area behind our base. And since our cavalry is mostly around here, if he wanted to attack this area, we could have easily gone to this corner to protect our trade. So don't make your trade here, make your trade here. and this is especially true on Lipany. Try to use these hills to your advantage. So if one market position looks to be too short, try the other one, the one that is not so obvious. You are not going to regret it, trust me. Okay, so this game will go on like this. I'm going to split my melee cav from my Mangudai, and I'm going to cause chaos, and this is the basic principle of playing against French. Try to trick your opponent, sacrifice a horseman to escape freely through your opponent's base, and cause some chaos if you can. And yeah, this is kind of the strategy in the feudal age. Yeah, the scouts are scouting. The scouts are aware. I think he was checking whether I was going for a market. And even if he checked and noticed that there were a few traders around here, I would have been prepared to defend that. Because I'm constantly pumping units. I'm constantly creating Mangudai and Keshik. So this is how you can win against French in the feudal age. Let's check the age up. So we are forcing our opponent into a defensive position. We're trying to destroy walls as he builds them. We're trying to make him build some labyrinths here. We have our deer stones here. That's a pretty good position. We're also rallying units here because we want to check that he doesn't start building around here. Also, another thing is to build towers at key points, or at least have a scout here, because we don't want our opponent to do some proxy stuff. If you go out on the deer, make sure you build the towers. Was silly of me not to garrison 2 more villagers into those towers, but okay. At the same time, we notice that our opponent is going for a second town center. You should not allow this. So let me show you what to do. My opponent is also not fighting properly, so this is his biggest mistake. And my friend, if you see this game, you should actually engage with your units. Your units are not there to scare me off. Your units are there to attack me and to diminish my units, because now I realized I can just go for this town center. If my opponent has this kind of approach, I'm gonna go for the town center. I'm gonna heal up my Keshiks on these walls that you built for me, and I'm going to destroy your town center. Because you cannot allow your opponent to make an emergency town center. Never do that. Your opponents, when they see that they have lost so many villagers, they will build a second town center. But you need to prevent this. You need to prevent this by fighting. You need to prevent this by torching it down, by killing all the villagers that have contributed to building this. And no matter what it takes, just stick to it, because his 600 resources will just go down. Add more units if necessary. Nice. This created a very, very big advantage for us. And now we're forcing him to build walls much closer to his base. He cannot build walls here. This would have been amazing for him, but we don't allow him to do that. We're trying to force our opponent to build the smallest possible base. His scouts are aware that there is an army coming here. We're pushing him from this side of the base, this side to this corner, so we are torching down buildings, we're getting extra resources out of that. If you have the upper hand, the game will turn into your favor. And if you manage to get the upper hand, you're gonna be able to dominate the French. Now, let's look at the current situation. His knights are gonna be strong. And we're still in the feudal age, as usual. Typical of me, but feudal age is still okay. But against the French knights, we want to move fast. We want to be quick with that. And if you see this